When I look at my students today, eager to learn English, I always tell them, I was just like you. Learning English wasn't easy for me. In fact, it was one of the hardest things I've ever done. But it's also the most rewarding. Let me tell you my story. Years ago, I was a young man with big dreams. I wanted to travel, to teach, and to connect with people from all over the world. But there was one problem. I didn't know English. In my small town, learning English wasn't common. The schools taught us a little, but the lessons were boring, and the teachers didn't seem interested. At that time, I didn't know how important English would be for my future. One day, I decided to take English seriously. I bought a small dictionary and started learning words. I remember trying to say apple for the first time. It sounded so strange to me. I also tried to write sentences, but they were always wrong. I could write things like I is happy or she go to school yesterday. My grammar was terrible and people laughed at me sometimes. Then came my first big mistake. I thought I could learn English only by memorizing words. I spent hours and hours repeating words like dog, cat, and table. But when I tried to have a conversation, I froze. I realized that knowing words wasn't enough. I had to learn how to use them. Another obstacle was pronunciation. I remember saying beach wrong and it sounded like a bad word. My classmates laughed so much. I felt embarrassed, but I didn't give up. I practiced in front of the mirror every day, trying to make my mouth move the right way. Listening was even harder. I would watch English movies, but I didn't understand anything. The actors spoke so fast. I felt like I was trying to catch the wine with my hands. I even tried to copy their accents, but it sounded funny. There were times when I wanted to quit. I thought, maybe English isn't for me. Maybe I'll never learn. but something inside me kept pushing forward. I told myself it's okay to make mistakes. Mistakes are part of learning. I also faced criticism. Some people said, "Why are you wasting your time? You'll never use English here." Others told me, "You are too old to learn a new language." But I didn't listen. I kept going, step by step, mistake by mistake. The turning point came when I found a pen friend. It was a girl from the UK who wanted to learn my language. So we exchanged letters. Her name was Emily, and she was so patient with me. I wrote to her about my life, and she corrected my mistakes kindly. She taught me that learning English wasn't just about rules, it was about communication and connection. As I kept writing letters to Emily, I started noticing something amazing. My English was improving. At first, it was small things, like using the correct verb tense or spelling words better. But then I began to feel more confident expressing myself. I stopped worrying so much about making mistakes and focused on sharing my thoughts. Emily even sent me a small book as a gift, The Little Prince. It was the first book I ever read in English. It was hard. I had to look up almost every word in my dictionary, but I loved it. I felt like I was discovering a new word, one word at a time. Of course, there were still challenges. One time, I decided to join a group of people practicing English in my town. I was so nervous because they all seemed better than me. When it was my turn to speak, I froze completely. My mind went blank, and all I could say was, "Hello." I felt so embarrassed that I wanted to leave and never come back. But one of the group leaders came to me and said, "Don't worry, everyone starts somewhere. You're brave for trying." That small encouragement changed everything for me. I started attending the group regularly. Every time I spoke, I got a little better. I made new friends and we helped each other. Some of them even had funny stories about their own mistakes, which made me feel less alone. I also found new ways to learn. I started singing English songs. My favorite was Imagine by John Lennon. At first, I sang it with terrible pronunciation. But over time, I got better. Singing helped me improve my vocabulary and rhythm. Another thing I did was talk to myself in English. It sounds silly, but it worked. I could describe everything I was doing. I'm brushing my teeth now, I'm walking to the store, I'm buying bread. It felt strange at first, but it helped me practice forming sentences without fear of judgment. Fast forward a few years, and I was no longer just a student. I became the one teaching English to others. Looking back, I realized that every mistake, every embarrassment, and every struggle was worth it. I see that every mistake I made was a step forward. Each wrong word, each awkward sentence, and even the times I felt embarrassed, they all taught me something valuable. If there's one thing I've learned, it's this: making mistakes, it's not a failure. It's proof that you're learning and growing. Don't be afraid of errors. They are just part of the journey to become better. Keep practicing, keep trying, and remember, the more mistakes you make, the closer you are to success. I hope you liked this story. If you could improve your English a little more, please subscribe to the channel and share this video with a friend. Thank you very much for your support. Take care.